With Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson, all 65 million viewers got what we deserved. Arlington, Texas, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. That Maya Angelou adage applies perfectly to the predictably farcical fight millions worldwide witnessed from AT&T Stadium on Friday night. We got from this ill-conceived, circus-like clash of generations generally what we should have expected. To call Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson a glorified sparring session is insulting to those who actually take sparring seriously. This was more a shrewd, 27-year-old businessman in the heart of his physical prime acknowledging almost immediately that an opponent approaching 60 had no business being in a boxing ring with him. If you think Paul wasn't well aware of this high probability long before he fought the legendary former heavyweight champion, you haven't been paying nearly enough attention to Paul's progression from novice novelty act to cash-grabbing global superstar. Paul and his business partner, MVP Promotions co-founder Nakisa Bidarian, chose Tyson as his opponent for this Netflix fight Paul's company first secured in November 2023 because they uniquely understood that a reinvented Tyson's mass appeal trumped any physical limitations Tyson would have had as a 58-year-old opponent who hadn't boxed in an official fight since June 2005. Tyson was willingly complicit, mind you, in agreeing to modified rules and inevitable embarrassment on the grandest stage. They fought 8 2-minute rounds and wore 14-ounce gloves, which had more padding than the typical 10-ounce gloves worn for heavyweight fights. Even those concessions weren't enough to help Tyson make their boring bout remotely competitive. Why this surprised even the millions of casual boxing observers who watched an aged, injured Tyson nibble on his gloves more than he threw punches is absolutely baffling. In 2005, Tyson, then 38, very specifically told the whole world after he quit on his stool against gigantic Irish underdog Kevin McBride that the ferocity required of prizefighters wasn't in his heart anymore. The youngest heavyweight champion in this sport's storied history was an emotionally and physically beaten man, unable 19 years ago to properly prepare to defeat even the type of pedestrian opponent he would have obliterated during his renowned reign as the baddest man on the planet. One of the most complicated, fascinating figures in American sports history simply did it back then because he needed the money. That's the same sad reason why Tyson fought Danny Williams, who knocked him out in the 4th round 10 months before McBride beat him, and Lennox Lewis, who pummeled him 3 years prior to the unheralded McBride ending his career, and so many other opponents after he was released from prison in March 1995. The Brooklyn native spent a significant portion of his celebrated career playing a role he was no longer equipped to fulfill. He begrudgingly did it again Friday night. This time, his antagonistic accomplice promised a real fight, only to admit afterward that he carried Tyson through the back end of their abbreviated bout because he didn't want to hurt a wildly popular opponent 31 years his senior. There was a point where, I was just like, okay, he's not really engaging back. And so, I don't know if he's tired or whatever, Paul surprisingly stated at his post-fight news conference. And I could just tell his age was showing a little bit. And I just have so much respect for him, and that violence, war thing between us, after he slapped me I wanted to, be aggressive and take him down, knock him out and all that stuff. But that kinda went away as the rounds went on. One could consider this a noble act of compassion from Paul, if not for the infuriating fact that it is precisely why their fight never should have been scheduled. Paul and Tyson aren't the only ones to blame for foisting such ridiculousness on the paying public. Those that run the regulatory